Robbie, let's hear it.
I mean, I
You're up.
guess I'll be quick. So let me just preface this by saying that, I at sport I used to work at Sports Illustrated. I was the tennis editor at Sports Illustrated. I'm very knowledgeable about everything tennis, right? So this is a subject that is very important to me. And I'm not a fan of Novak Djokovic. I should put that out there as a
He does
disclaimer.
seem like an asshole.
But
Just want
he is.
to
He
say.
is. I've interviewed him before. He tried to holla back in the day. He is an asshole. However, in this particular situation, so Novak Djokovic, who is unvaccinated, and like Aaron Rodgers, the Green Bay Packers quarterback, he's kind of like, skirted the issue, never really answered the question about his vaccination status. So
Mhm.
Australia has been the country slash continent in the world that has had the most stringent quarantine vaccination mandates of all. They have been most of the citizens in Australia for the past, I think it's like 250 days now, have been on tight quarantine. So Novak Djokovic, who's unvaccinated, who's made no mistake, about, letting the public know that he doesn't believe in vaccinations or vaccination mandates. Australian Open, he's the number one male men's player in the world, by the way. Australian Open starts on January 17th, so in a week. He showed up in Australia with some questions about his vaccination status. He tweeted before he showed up in Australia that, oh, I got a vaccination exemption, so I'm going to the Australian Open. He arrives at the border in Australia and they are like, no, sir, no, sir, your vaccination exemption is no good here. There's something wrong with your visa. We don't accept this. And so Novak is from Serbia, right? So now not only is there a fight between Novak and the Australian government. But because of his stance and his father's stance, there's a fight between Serbia
Mm.
and the Australian government. Protests all over the place. They're alleging racism,
Mhm.
jealousy because he's won, 20 Grand Slam tournaments. So, my question to the panel is, if you can gauge all of that from my brief description, who's in the right and who's in the wrong here? Let me just say tomorrow is when this goes to the court.
Mm.
Novak's team has to present their case. The Australian government has to present their case tomorrow, but everything's still, in limbo. Since he tried to get in and was denied, he has been in isolation
In a hotel.
in Australia.
Hmm.
So my question to you is, who's at fault here? Who's right? Who's wrong?
Robbie,
What's going on?
start with you.
All right. Well, he had a medical exemption to participate in the tournament. He did not have
Mm.
a medical exemption to enter the
To the
country.
country.
Different rules, man. So he,
Very similar to Kyrie Irving.
yep, he or
Yes,
someone on
yes.
his team neglected to do their homework. And when I traveled to Greece, I consulted with my physician and got the shots that were required for me to travel between those two nations. Why would it be any different for Novak, especially during a pandemic? And I mean, just I did a little bit of digging because I found some stuff to what Liz was alluding to. And in 2020, I got to read this quote. So this is from Novak Djokovic. I know some people that through energetical transformation, through the power of prayer, through the power of gratitude, they manage to turn the most toxic food or maybe most polluted water into the most healing water because water reacts. Scientists have proven that in experiment that molecules in the water react to our emotions.
Oh my God.
So I'm sorry, dude, but you can't pray the Rona away. I'm sorry. You can't.
People have tried and have not been successful.
Wow.
People have
That shit
And he
doesn't
tried.
work.
caught it. I mean, he caught
Yeah.
it. So,
Okay, so
I
Nia,
don't know how
let me
much
let me
prayer he had, but
let
he
me give
caught
you
it.
let me expand on that. So in 2020, Novak Djokovic, when we were in like the throes of the pandemic, right? He decided to hold a tournament in Serbia with no vaccination requirements, no mask requirements, no social distancing requirements. He decided to hold a tennis tournament in Serbia, right? From that, and a party, and a big party in the tournament. From that event, not only did he contract COVID, but several top tennis players contracted COVID. So that was
Yeah.
2020. So it just goes to show you he doesn't give a fuck.
Yeah.
He
Yeah.
doesn't care.
Yeah.
He
All right,
doesn't
Johnny,
care.
we're running real short on time. Go ahead and get your thoughts in.
I think that the government is in the right for once. I think that the rules aren't above anybody. So it's kind of like, even though he is the number one men's tennis player, the rules aren't above you, sir. So if you, like Bob said, you had to do your due
Speak,
diligence
Gianni.
and know, yeah, and know your that you can have it, that you could even have the exemption to enter the country. But I'm really interested in this. When Liz brought this to me, I was like, who is this guy? But after
Oh, you don't know Djokovic. Okay. Yeah, you have to know tennis, I guess.
I live under a rock. No, but
We
it's
know that's
interesting
not
that
true.
it became like a race war or a nationality war, so to speak. So he has a lot of influence, which I didn't know. That's pretty.
Latoya says exactly, Gianni. Who is this guy?
He definitely, even outside of the tennis world, he has a lot of influence, and he has a lot of people who love him. But he also has a lot of haters. And the reason for the latter is he's an asshole. Like, we could do a whole
I could
other
tell. He really
show
just seems like it. I
about
mean,
his
I don't know him.
transgressions.
I've never met him, but he just
We could
seems
do
like
a whole other story, a whole other show about his transgressions. I have interviewed this fool in person. I have covered him for a number of years. This doesn't surprise me,
Mhm.
his take. I'm surprised by the number of people um, in Serbia, but outside of Serbia, who are on his side for this, because this is, we're still in a global pandemic, people.
Yeah.
And again, the citizens of Australia have been on tight lockdown for
Yeah.
almost a year. And so to think that he should get some type of, you know, favor from the government while its own citizens can't move freely like that is ridiculous. It's
So,
ridiculous
And
to me.
unfortunately, we're really short on time. I do want to
yeah.
share some quick comments myself, but I'm trying to make them as quick as possible. But um, I just want people, keep in mind, you know, these vaccines, if you don't want to take the vaccine, I don't think people should be vilified for that because once again, we've had Dr. Samard and others on this show telling us that we've never seen a vaccine produced this way before using the mRNA method. mRNA, right. So but for someone who doesn't want to be a part of the first round, the guinea pigs, the lab rats, I don't think that's unreasonable to expect. But what is unreasonable is that person choosing not to have this layer of protection and then subjecting their cooties and potential cooties to me and those who don't want to get sick. It's like if you want to be Typhoid Mary, that's your choice. And for those who don't know who Typhoid Mary is, Mary Milan, aka Typhoid Mary, was the first recorded asymptomatic disease carrier. It wasn't COVID, but she was carrying typhoid fever, basically salmonella. She produced the salmonella bacteria, and it didn't make her sick. But she was a cook, and she wouldn't clean her hands, and she'd go to the bathroom, and that wasn't a thing back then. So she killed and sickened a ton of people until they finally figured out it was her. But she refused to stop cooking. And also, when she was told to wash her hands and use proper sanitary techniques, she refused that too. And she went back to cooking and killed and sickened a bunch more people. And then finally, they committed her. So if that's who you choose to be, you don't want to do the vaccine, you don't want to mask up, but you want to put me at risk, then I say, fuck you.
Yeah.
I shouldn't be the one quarantining. You should be the one locked up. So Djokovic, whoever, I say just stay out of my way, and everyone else that wants to go back to normal. So That's how I feel.
And I think that's what people don't understand. I agree with you, Neo. I agree with you. And I think that's what people don't understand. Like, you have a right to say, no, I don't want this vaccine.
Fine with me.
But the majority, the law, the government has to say, okay, there are consequences for that
Exactly.
because now you are a threat. Now you
Yeah.
are a threat.
Yeah, you
If it
can't go
were
around
y'all
killing
should be
people.
lucky.
Sorry.
Y'all should be lucky I am not president of these United States because I would put all unvaccinated people in exile at this point. Get out. 100% get out. Get
Yep.
out.
All right. We got
I'm
some
done.
comments online. We got to get those in, and then we get to our game show real quick. We have to make that quick today. All right. Let's see. Bunch of comments. So this is incredibly sad how many people won't take this seriously. I'm with Liz. There's no current player who is more. This is Mike Winter. There's no current player who is more of an asshole, and people who are defending him are those type of players. Um, Jacqueline Robinson, that's what people keep missing. This is bigger than one person, country sport. It's a global issue. Exactly. This is Latoya. Exactly, Neil. You don't have to get the vaccine. It's not, if that's not what you want, you don't go somewhere trying to spread your cooties to everybody else. Take extra precautions. Robin Johnson, this is so much bigger than the singular. It has a huge ripple effect. Ade says the assholicity of this man to think that he's above
I love it. I love
following
it.
the rules. He barely cares
A new
about
word.
himself. I had to word that out. I had to sound that out.
That's my new word. That's my word.
Assholicity.
Assholicity. I love it. I love it. I love it.
George Fournier says, great point, Neo. And then Sonia says, how are unvaxxed a threat to vaxxed people? Okay, that's a whole. We can take
That's a
that. We're
whole
gonna
other show.
let's take that question, that specific question, to the after show. We'll take that specific question to the after show because
Wait,
yeah,
who asked that question?
this was Sonia Elias Cueto, but it's briefly, it's a threat. We've seen it with Omicron specifically.
Mhm.
All right, unfortunately,
Let me take his name.
we'll do that, and then we'll take that question in the after show. We'll take that question in the after show. All right, great topic. Is this truth, lies, or shenanigans?
Ooh, this is a whole lot of.
This is again, yeah. So you're just going, it's all bullshit. You're just going straight with all bullshit. I'm going shenanigans and some truth up in there.
I say it's all three: truth, lies, and.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna give myself some props because I really don't like this player. And so I was I think I was, as impartial as I could be in presenting that story.
Yeah, you did well.